Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to talk about a book about magic, and this book is different because it is in regard to geometry as a foundation of magic, and it's also about a different form of magic that can be used by magic practitioners. So I wanted to particularly talk about this book today because it's a very interesting book and it's quite different, and I think it's a great book for people who are magic practitioners and they're looking for something a bit different. Like, for example, people who have been working with the vanishing pentagram or the vanishing hexagram, and which are the usual it's the usual method of the Golden Dawn, for example. People who are looking for something a bit different and would like to know about other forms of geometry as a basis of magic. So this book is called Infernal Geometry and the Left-Hand Path, and it's by Toby Chappell. It's been published quite recently, only in the last couple of years. I'm going to talk quite a bit about this book in a moment. But before I get started talking about this book, I'd like to talk a bit about the foundations of geometry in regard to magic. I mean, if you look behind me here, you can see the pentagram, and you can also see the Kabbalah glyph or the Kabbalah diagram. I mean, these are examples of geometry, and it will give you an idea of just how important geometry is as a basis for magic itself, and also forming important parts of rituals and methods. So I just want to talk really quickly about that first. Now, as I was saying, the actual glyph of Kabbalah, it's just pure geometry. I know that there are a lot of ideas and concepts in regard to this glyph or diagram, but if you look at the structure of Kabbalah, it is geometry. So I wanted to make that point just to begin with, give a bit of an introduction to what I'm going to talk about with the book. The other thing, of course, is the unicursal hexagram. This is, of course, a very important card that's always included in the Thoth Tarot. So Crowley was particularly aware of the importance of geometry. He absolutely knew that. That was why he wanted the unicursal hexagram included with the deck, and it's a very important part of his own order of Thelema. So I wanted to mention this as well, that is just an example of geometry. And also to talk or mention the fact that the Thoth Tarot itself, the artwork by Frieda Harris, is based on projective geometry. That is the art form that Frieda Harris used for the deck, so that the images themselves are projective geometry. So I just wanted to talk about that to begin with, just to lay the groundwork about the importance of geometry in regard to magic. Now, this book, Infernal Geometry and the Left-Hand Path, the subtitle is The Magical System of the Nine Angles. And this is mainly about the system of the trapezoid. The author is a master of the order of the Trapezoid, and that is a branch of the Temple of Set. So this book has got a very good foreword by Michael Aquino, who was the founder of the Temple of Set, and there's other information in here that is the work of Michael Aquino as well. So that's really worthwhile. There's quite a few diagrams and pictures in here. I'll give you a look at those in a moment. This book starts by talking about the history of geometry in regard to magic. It talks about John Dee, for example, is one of the pictures in the book. So you can see that. That is a nine-angled figure here, because it's all about the 9 angles for this branch of magic. And that is from Kircher's Ennead. So a lot of people know the Ennead as something else now, but there are other types of Enneads, which just means, you know, a nine-angled figure. So I'll give you an idea what's in the book in a moment. I just wanted to give you an idea, a picture here of the trapezoid, the 9, which is really this here. It's really the pentagram inside the four-sided figure on the outside of the pentagram is a trapezoid. It's a four-sided, four-angled figure. And so when you total the angles of 9, you have the four-angled figure of the trapezoid plus the 5-angled pentagram. And so that's nine angles. And the book gives lots of information about what each of these angles represent. So it's all labelled and explained in the book as a complete system of magic. So this is really fascinating for me because geometry is quite important for me from an esoteric point of view, from a practitioner point of view. It always has been. I think that's why I'm quite totally absorbed with Kabbalah, because it's also about the geometry. So I love that this book talks about geometry in particular in regard to magic and how important it has always been. So chapter 1 is the overview of the 9 angles and talks about the order of the trapezoid itself. There are rituals in here and ceremonies for the 9 angles, for people who want that, which is great. I'm going to give you some more ideas of what's in here. Oh, the other thing that's great in here too, if people who are interested, it also links the order of the trapezoid or the 9-angled magic system with concepts from the books of Lovecraft, of H.P. Lovecraft. Now that is another interest of mine. I am quite interested in the stories and mythology of Lovecraft. So when I found this book, I mean, it just has two areas that I'm particularly interested in and brings it all together. So for people who are also interested in Lovecraftian theories or themes for their magic, this is also great for that too. So there is a Lovecraftian ritual in here. There's commentary on the seal of the 9 angles. But the overview of the 9 angle system and also the historical background is really important, because it's talking about the importance of geometry in regard to magic as the historical background. And then it talks about the particular angular magic within the Temple of Set, and also how that started, the background to that. People might find that very interesting, how that all started. Then there is a chapter on the foundation of geometry in magical practice. Chapter 5 is a theory of magic. This is quite a substantial book. There's a lot in here. Then there is the foundation of work with the 9 angles. Then there is operative work with the 9 angles, and this is where there's rituals in here. So this book has got a lot in here. There's lots in here. It's quite a substantial book. So under the heading of sacred geometry, which talks about the Enneagram as well, it's not called sacred geometry for nothing. I mean, a lot of people think, oh well, sacred geometry, what is that? Is it just to do with sacred architecture of churches or buildings, but it's actually more than that, and especially in regard to magic. But also, talks about Pythagoras and Plato. This is the historical basis and foundation. And what I love with this is that all of these, as I was saying, all of these points of the angles that are numbered from 0 to 9, and they're all given their names, their concepts. So for example, you have the 0 point is perfection, number 1 is chaos, 2 is order, 3 is understanding, 4 is being, 5 is creation, 6 is sleep or death. So that there's joint or either or concepts there for that one. Same with number 7, that is awakening or birth. 8 is recreation, and 9 is perfection, because the 9 returns to the 0 of perfection just to start again. I really like this book. It's great. I think it is really important for people who are looking for something new and fresh. Especially if you've been mainly working with the vanishing pentagram or the vanishing hexagram, and you would like to look into other things. And I also like the way that, for example, with the 9 angles, you've got the trapezoid with the pentagram. You've got the 9-angled figure here, but you've also got the trapezoid here separately and labelled for people who want to know more about that. That's great too. But there's just so much in here. And what I should say too at this point about the trapezoid and the Lovecraft themes. These 4 points on the trapezoid tie in with Lovecraft themes and Lovecraft gods or goddesses or characters, figures from the Lovecraft tales, stories. So I love that. And it explains why in the book. It explains all about that. So I think this is a great book. I think for me it represents alternative magic, which I think is a great idea. I know a lot of people who think about alternative magic, they would think mainly of chaos magic. I would see this form of magic as sort of taking in both more traditional or ancient magic it's slightly chaos magic. Some people may want to see, for example, magic with Lovecraft themes as a form of chaos magic. I don't really, for me personally, I don't see it as a form of chaos magic. I personally do not. I think chaos magic is far more free form. And for people who want that, that's fine. But this one is sort of in between. This one is in between the more strict format of the Golden Dawn, for example, type of magics, the more traditional forms, and it's in between the more traditional forms and the chaos forms of magic. It's the middle ground of that, and I like the middle ground in a lot of things, and I like the middle ground in regard to magic. So I recommend this book for people who are interested, who are looking for something fresh and different as a magic practitioner. So this is Infernal Geometry and the Left-Hand Path by Toby Chappell, and the subtitle is The Magical System of the Nine Angles, which is all to do with the trapezoid. Here is the book here. I'll put some details below the video for people who are interested, and I think it's a great book. It's a well-written book. It's really quite a fascinating book. I mean, for people who are just interested in discovering this, it's worth buying. Even for people who are not necessarily going to use these methods or use this type of magic, or just for people who would like to discover this, and also to learn more about the important foundation of geometry in regard to magic. So I'll put some details below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.